The morning of September 11, 2001 began like any other Tuesday. Across the United States, people were starting their day under a bright, clear blue sky. In New York City, the air was crisp and the sun shone brightly on the World Trade Center. The Twin Towers stood as symbols of American strength and business. Workers arriving at desks, grabbing coffee, preparing for a normal day of work. Children headed to school. Yellow buses dotting the streets. It was a peaceful morning, full of ordinary routines. No one knew that in just a few moments, everything would change forever. In Washington, D.C., government workers were starting their day. The Pentagon was already busy, a massive building where thousands worked to keep the country safe. Far away in Pennsylvania, the fields were quiet under the same beautiful sky. Across the country, travelers said goodbye, boarded planes for meetings, vacations, or to fly home. The first sign that something was wrong happened high in the sky. American Airlines Flight 11 took off from Boston at 7:59 a.m., headed for Los Angeles. On board were 92 people, passengers and crew. About 15 minutes after takeoff, the plane stopped communicating with air traffic control. It made a sudden turn off its planned course, heading toward New York City. United Airlines Flight 175 departed Boston at 8:14 a.m. with 65 on board. Like Flight 11, it soon fell silent. The hijackers turned off the transponder, making it harder to track. Two large jets, both veering toward New York. A third plane, American Airlines Flight 77, left Dulles at 8:20 a.m. with 64 aboard. About 30 minutes later, it too went silent and turned back toward Washington, D.C. United Airlines Flight 93 took off late from Newark at 8:42 a.m. with 44 on board. By then, the first attack had already happened in New York, and the quiet, ordinary morning was gone. At 8:46 a.m., the world changed. American Airlines Flight 11, the first plane to be hijacked, flew directly into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. It struck between the 93rd and 99th floors. A massive explosion sent a huge fireball into the sky, followed by a thick plume of black smoke. People on the streets below looked up in disbelief at a giant, gaping hole. At first, many thought it was a terrible accident, perhaps a small private plane. Inside, the crash was devastating. Above the impact, hundreds were trapped as stairwells were destroyed. Below the impact, thousands began to evacuate through dark, choking smoke. News cameras quickly turned to the burning tower. Television stations cut to live footage. Across the country and around the world, people stopped and watched in horror. Emergency responders rushed in. Firefighters, police officers, paramedics. Just as the world was trying to understand the first crash, the unthinkable happened. 9:03 a.m., 17 minutes after the first impact, a second plane appeared in the sky. United Airlines Flight 175. Millions watched live as it banked sharply toward the South Tower and flew directly into the building, striking between the 77th and 85th floors. Another massive fireball sent debris and smoke into the clear blue sky. All doubt vanished. This was not an accident. This was a coordinated attack. Fear and disbelief washed over the country as people called loved ones. Phone lines were overwhelmed. The South Tower shook violently. Those told to stay now scrambled to evacuate through crowded stairwells. An aide told President George W. Bush, "A second plane has hit the second tower. America is under attack." The government moved. The FAA ordered all civilian aircraft to land. For the first time, U.S. skies fell silent. The attacks were not limited to New York City. The hijackers had another target, Washington, D.C. At 9:37 in the morning, American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the western side of the Pentagon. This massive building is the headquarters for the nation's military. The fuel-laden plane created a powerful explosion and a huge fire. A section collapsed. Smoke poured from the building, and the smell of jet fuel filled the air as crews rushed in. The Pentagon is complex, like a city within a city, making rescue efforts difficult. Military personnel, civilian employees, firefighters, and police worked side by side to evacuate the wounded. All 64 on the plane were killed, along with 125 inside the Pentagon. With the Pentagon hit and rumors of more targets, key buildings in Washington were evacuated. Leaders moved to secure locations. The fire burned for days, but recovery began at once, revealing resolve that spread across the nation. The fourth hijacked plane, United Airlines Flight 93, had a different story. Because of its delayed takeoff, passengers and crew learned of the other attacks via airphones and cell phones. They learned planes had hit the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. They realized their aircraft was being used as a guided missile, likely bound for Washington, D.C. Faced with this reality, they decided to fight back and took a vote to retake the plane. One passenger, Todd Beamer, was heard saying, "Are you guys ready? Okay, let's roll." Businessmen, students, parents, grandparents, ordinary people became heroes in the sky. They stormed the cockpit. The cockpit voice recorder captured their brave struggle. As the hijackers began to lose control, they deliberately crashed the plane. At 10:03 a.m., Flight 93 plunged into an empty field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. All 44 on board were killed. That quiet field became a symbol of bravery and sacrifice that saved countless lives in Washington. Back in New York City, fires in the Twin Towers burned with incredible heat. Jet fuel ignited everything on impact floors. Steel supports, built for immense loads, began to weaken. The floors above were incredibly heavy. The weakened structure could no longer support them. At 9:59 a.m., after burning for 56 minutes, the South Tower began to collapse. It imploded from the top down in a cascade of steel, concrete, and glass. A massive dust cloud turned day into night, covering streets, cars, and people in gray. Attention turned to the North Tower, still burning fiercely. At 10:28 a.m., just 29 minutes after its twin, the North Tower also collapsed, after burning for 102 minutes. New York's iconic skyline was changed forever. When the dust settled, there was only smoking rubble. Thousands were lost, including hundreds of firefighters, police officers, and paramedics. On September 11, 2001, in the midst of unimaginable terror, countless heroes emerged. Firefighters, police officers, Port Authority officers, paramedics, and EMTs rushed in. They charged into burning buildings, climbing dozens of flights with heavy gear to rescue anyone they could reach. Police secured streets, managed chaos, and helped evacuate thousands. Heroism was everywhere. Co-workers guided each other, strangers carried the injured, some returned to help again. Boat owners and ferry captains launched a spontaneous sea lift, rescuing hundreds of thousands to New Jersey and Brooklyn. In the days and weeks that followed, responders from across the country worked around the clock through dangerous, toxic conditions. Their dedication and resilience became a powerful tribute to the human spirit. 343 firefighters, 23 NYPD officers, and 37 PAPD officers made the ultimate sacrifice. Amid ash and sorrow, a nation found courage, compassion, and resolve. The attacks of September 11, 2001, left a deep and permanent mark on the United States. In a single morning, 2,977 innocent people were killed in New York City, at the Pentagon, and in Shanksville. Victims came from more than 90 countries: mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters. Countless others were injured, and millions remember where they were on that terrible day. Airport security transformed. The TSA was created. Screening became stricter with shoes off, laptops out, advanced scanners. Airline cockpit doors were reinforced so planes could never again be turned into weapons. In the aftermath came unity and solidarity. People gathered to mourn, to honor, and to help. Messages of sympathy poured in from around the globe. The nation embarked on a long war on terror to find and punish those responsible and prevent future attacks. Today, memorials stand at each of the 3 crash sites, preserving the story and the names. In New York, 2 reflecting pools sit in the Twin Towers' footprints, names inscribed around the edges. Each year, tribute in light rises, and the nation pauses to remember the loss, the resilience, and to never forget.